Following the splendid success of the first two Sonic the Hedgehog games, the Japanese team from Sega Technical Institute, led by well-respected game designer Hirokazu Yasuhara, began working on a new Sonic title. Because of time constraints, this project would eventually be split into two separate games, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. Although the former would turn out to be a good game on its own merits, it is the latter that would really stand out for people over time. Not only was it a remarkable standalone video game, but it also acted as an add-on for previous Sonic games thanks to its innovative lock-on technology. Indeed, the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge had a hatch that could be opened for the insertion of previous Sonic titles. This feature unlocked extra options for each game, ranging from new playable characters in older Sonic games to new collectibles to obtain in Sonic and Knuckles. And thus, in late 1994, while most of the chatter in the world of video games was centered around Nintendo's soon-to-be-released Donkey Kong Country and its pre-rendered 3D graphics, Sega's Sonic & Knuckles made a surprising splash in the month of October. It delighted players everywhere and garnered heavy praise from most critics. As the sequel to Sonic 3, Sonic & Knuckles follows the concluding events of its predecessor, with Dr. Robotnik crash landing on Angel Island after a long battle with our favorite blue hedgehog. Determined to get his massive Death Egg fortress back into the sky, Robotnik is forced to battle Sonic again, this time for the control of the Master Emerald. As Sonic, the player also has to deal with newcomer Knuckles the Echidna, who believes that the speedy hedgehog is after the Chaos Emeralds for his own nefarious reasons. Playing as Knuckles, you also have to contend with Egg Robo, Robotnik's minion, and a few other unique metallic creations. The overall plot is pretty simple, as was usually the case with older Sonic games, but some of its story beats managed to get younger me emotionally involved. I especially remember the encounter between Sonic and Knuckles in the Hidden Palace, where Knuckles, after being defeated by Sonic, takes a severe thrashing from Robotnik before bravely leading his hedgehog rival to a portal. This gateway allows Sonic to reach the Sky Sanctuary and eventually the end of his quest. Although I am uncertain why now, I used to believe that Knuckles died throughout this process, and thus I saw his gesture as a heroic sacrifice made for the benefit of his enemy, all with a grander purpose in mind. It left a lasting impression on me for a while, as I had not been confronted with death much at all by this point in my life. Even with the knowledge that Knuckles does not actually die, this sequence is still quite poignant. It exemplifies what both characters had to do for the real villain of the story to be ultimately vanquished, put their selfish conflict aside, and support each other for the betterment of the world they live in. Definitely a good message. Let's move on to the gameplay now, which, everyone knows, has always been the most important element of a good Sonic game. For starter, the experience of rolling through stages at hyperspeed is still pure bliss. Gotta go fast, right? The game also introduces new ways of traveling through the levels thanks to the addition of Knuckles. If you choose to play as Sonic's fierce rival, you are able to glide through the air, and ascend walls like an actual mountain climber. The latter only made possible by the spikes protruding from the red echidna's knuckles. These different forms of traversal allow you to reach a multitude of areas with Knuckles that are simply inaccessible when playing as Sonic. The titular Hedgehog, though, has his own advantages, such as being able to jump higher than his rival and the ability to use 3 different types of bubble power-ups. These obviously also help the player reach unique locations in the game. The disparate nature of how the 2 characters are played encourages you to replay the game many times, until you are able to find all of the secrets scattered around the different zones. Speaking of stages, Sonic and Knuckles has quite a few original ones. The lava reef and flying battery zones are my favorites, as they are a blast to go through. However, the most memorable one gameplay-wise has to be the Sandopolis zone. I have not mentioned it yet, but the areas in this game are huge, and Sandopolis has the biggest levels of them all. Going through them is like trying to make it to the end of a maze. Additionally, in the stage you have to deal with sand slides, ghosts, and rooms slowly filling with sand. All of these gameplay elements can quite possibly lead you to your doom. Also of note are the special stages that you have to go through to claim the Chaos Emeralds for yourself. They are just more difficult than the ones found in Sonic 3. Especially the later ones. I had to replay them over and over in the hope of getting enough emeralds to gain access to the good ending of the game. These stages are all about memorization and reflexes. In contrast, most of the bosses in the game are quite easy, as their attack patterns do not require too much trial and error to understand. The lone exception to that is the final boss, who does necessitate more concentration to defeat. Overall, the game is still decently difficult for the average player, as you begin with only 1 continue. Also, there is no save feature like there was in Sonic 3. This means that as a new player, you have to restart from the beginning quite a few times on your way toward beating the game. This is more so the case if you go through the game as Knuckles, considering his playthrough is objectively harder. Although in my opinion, his playthrough is more entertaining. Ultimately though, once you have gathered all of the Chaos Emeralds and you are able to turn into Super Sonic or Super Knuckles, the game becomes ridiculously easy. And there is also the option to access a level select mode, which allows you to go straight to your favorite stage. After spending so much time on the game and your mastery of it, it is definitely fun to use those and breeze through the levels, simply enjoying the game's art style and music. While on the subject, let me talk a bit about the game's visuals. Just like its predecessors, Sonic and Knuckles stands out thanks to the stunning graphical design of its various stages. Some zones like Sandopolis and Hidden Palace have amazingly detailed backgrounds and foregrounds that push the Sega Genesis to its limits. Other areas such as Mushroom Hill and Sky Sanctuary have more modest designs. Yet they throw in cool ideas like the dancing mushrooms and the interactive clouds that make up for it. And although not as vibrant as in a game like Super Mario World, the colors in Sonic & Knuckles are beautiful. Another visual highlight of the game is the setting of the final battle against Robotnik. Taking place in space, It begins with the heroic Hedgehog having to take down his nemesis on an unstable platform with our blue planet looming in the background. Eventually, Sonic has to turn into Super Sonic and fly after Robotnik while literally dodging small fragments of asteroids. The scale of this breathtaking sequence is really only made possible by the game's amazing art direction. The characters' designs are also high quality, with Robotnik's maniforms being up and above the most remarkable. Knuckles' design too is great. It has definitely more flair than Sonic's in my opinion.
I'm sorry, don't leave me, I want you here with me.
As for the many enemies in the game, their sprites look good. However, I remember laughing my ass off at the ghosts and whatever this was. Now I want to move on to the soundtrack of the game. If you don't know this about me, I love music, and I especially enjoy video game music. It is such an integral aspect of any game for me. In fact, I have a hard time thinking of an instance where I adore the video game soundtrack and did not also like the game itself. Sonic and Knuckles is definitely no exception. The particularly gritty tone of the Genesis Yamaha sound chip never sounded better than in this game. From the funky Mushroom Hill theme to the high-octane Deathhead composition, the game's soundtrack adds to the excitement of exploring the many stages. The boss fight tracks are just as exhilarating, giving you that extra bit of energy required to defeat all of those encounters. Also, it would feel wrong for me not to mention the Sky Sanctuary level's musical track. That one is especially nostalgic to me. Maybe because it was the first thing I heard after the emotional sequence with Knuckles in the Hidden Palace. Interestingly enough, all of these wonderful tunes can also be heard at a much faster tempo if one happens to find the Power Sneaker's power-up. I guess it is the game's way to tell you to pick up the pace already. As a last point, I also have to applaud the quality of the sound effects in the game. Most of those sound bites were already iconic by the time Sonic and Knuckles came out, but there are a few new choice additions in there. These help make the OST of the game just that much better.
We are now interrupting this review to share with you some very important information. Did you all know that the character of Knuckles was heavily influenced by Jamaican culture? Yes! Some of you might have noticed that Sonic's #1 rival has what looks like dreadlocks, that he wears shoes with the colors of the Jamaican flag, and that he lives on an island. Even his theme song in Sonic and Knuckles has a reggae feel to it. Interesting, right? Oh, and he loves grapes.
The grapes are delicious.
But I suppose that last bit has nothing to do with Jamaica.
It is time now for me to give a final grade to the game. I will be honest with you, I think that Sonic and Knuckles is the strongest installment in the entire series. It has a decent story with some emotional moments. The quality of the gameplay is at the peak of what the Sonic series could offer on the Genesis. The great visuals help you become engrossed in the game's world. And finally, the soundtrack is one of the best, if not the best, on the console. For all of those reasons, I believe Sonic and Knuckles deserves a big A. It is not in the category of the masterpieces, but it is still way up there. It is the kind of game that I find easy to go back to every year. A shiny relic from my childhood that always reminds me of the golden years of platforming and of the past rivalry between Nintendo and Sega.
What Nintendo?
And you, what do you think? Does Sonic and Knuckles rank just as high for you? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching. Peace and game on!